The evening began with a gentle hum, a symphony of clinking glasses and soft jazz. Elaine's gallery shimmered, transformed into a glittering stage for the city's elite. Each piece, curated by Elaine, told a story, but tonight, the real drama was among the guests. The air buzzed with anticipation, not just for the art, but for the connections and secrets waiting to surface. For some, it was another social event. For others, a night where past and future would collide. The scene was set, the players arriving, the soft jazz, a gentle soundtrack to the unfolding drama. The gallery was a canvas, the guests the paint, ready to create a masterpiece of emotion and conflict. The chandeliers glowed, holding their breath for the first act to begin. Elaine stood at the heart of it all, a vision of effortless grace in emerald. She greeted every guest with warmth, her poise unshakable, yet her eyes watched, always searching. Then, a whirlwind of sequins, Vivian, burst in, her entrance as loud as her laughter.
Elaine, darling, if this gown doesn't land me a husband, I may start advertising in the Lost and Found.
Vivian's humor was a splash of color on the gala's elegant canvas. David, handsome but uneasy, eyed the table settings with confusion.
Remind me again, why does one table need 4 forks? Elaine? Because Captain Clumsy, this isn't a diner.
Their banter was easy, the chemistry undeniable, a trio of poise, drama, and charm at the center of it all. The night's true story was about to begin. The gala pulsed with life, but the past lingered in every glance between Elaine and David. Their connection was strong, but history's cracks showed beneath the surface. Suddenly, a new figure entered. A tall, silver-haired man with eyes fixed on Elaine. Richard, suave and confident, was a living reminder of a chapter Elaine had tried to close.
Elaine, as radiant as Paris at midnight, do you still remember that sunrise dance in Madrid?
The words staked a claim, unearthing old romance for all to see. David's amusement faded, replaced by a guarded coolness. Vivian, ever the observer, moved to intervene, but the seed of doubt was planted. The night had become a dance between old flames and new hopes. Just as the evening found its rhythm, the gallery doors opened again. Richard entered, commanding attention with effortless elegance. He moved through the crowd, eyes locked on Elaine, ignoring David entirely.
As radiant as Paris at midnight, do you still remember that sunrise dance in Madrid?
The question was a public reminder of a private past. Elaine's poise faltered. David's posture stiffened. The harmony shattered. Richard's presence was a discordant note, the past intruding on the present. The night's balance had shifted.
Funny, she never mentioned her international sunrise dancer.
David's cool amusement was a subtle challenge, marking his place in Elaine's life. Richard offered a dismissive smile, seeing David as an obstacle, not a rival. Elaine stood between them, weary of a game she never wanted to play. She gently pulled her hand from Richard's grasp, a firm dismissal. The air thickened with unspoken accusations and old wounds. Before tension could escalate, Vivian swept in, champagne in hand, eyes sharp and knowing. She placed herself between the men, ready to do damage control, her way. The battle lines were drawn, but Vivian was about to rewrite the rules.
Relax, Romeo. Richard's about as exciting as decaf coffee.
Vivian's mockery cut through the tension, drawing laughter from the crowd. Richard's facade cracked, his mystique deflated. David grinned, the tightness in his posture easing. Elaine shot Vivian a grateful look. Vivian had done what politeness could not. Seizing the moment, Elaine guided David away, her focus entirely on him. "Some men never learn the word past," she murmured, drawing a clear line. Her touch and words reaffirmed their connection. She was choosing the present. The immediate crisis was averted, but the ghost of Madrid still lingered. The night and its true drama was far from over. Vivian watched Richard retreat, her victory clear. She turned to Elaine and David, her sharp wit softening into loyalty. "Honestly, Elaine, the man has the shelf life of a yogurt." Laughter sealed their bond. Vivian's drama was her shield, fiercely loyal, always protective. For a moment, the storm had passed and friendship prevailed. With Richard relegated to another part of the gallery, a fragile truce settled over Elaine and David. The air between them was still charged, but the hostile energy had been replaced by something, well, more tender and inquisitive. Elaine kept her hand on David's arm, a grounding touch that seemed to say, "I'm here, we're here."
He's very smooth.
David commented, choosing his word carefully. It was not a compliment. It was an observation, just totally laden with suspicion. He was testing the waters, trying to understand the role Richard had played in her life. He wanted reassurance, but he was just too proud to ask for it directly. David was a man who preferred clear maps and direct routes, and the winding, unmarked roads of Elaine's romantic past made him feel unsteady. He was navigating unfamiliar territory, both in the four-fork world of the gala and in the more complex landscape of Elaine's heart. Elaine understood the unspoken question behind his words. She sighed softly, her gaze drifting for a moment toward the art on the walls before returning to his face. "Smooth was appealing in my 30s, she admitted, her voice quiet and honest. Now it just feels slippery, like you can't get a good grip." The admission was a gift. She wasn't just dismissing Richard, she was explaining why he no longer held any appeal. She was validating David's own instincts, aligning her perspective with his. She was telling him that what she valued now was not slick performance, but solid ground. His shoulders relaxed. Her honesty was the anchor he needed.
Well, I'm about as slippery as a block of concrete.
Elaine laughed, a real musical laugh that made the space around them feel warm and safe again. The truce was sealed. The specter of the past had been faced, and for now, successfully banished. They stood together, a united front, ready to face the rest of the evening, unaware that a far greater challenge was already unfolding just a phone call away. Just as the drama with Richard faded, a new comical disturbance took center stage. Vivian, ever the optimist, waited for her blind date, hoping for Prince Charming. Instead, his overly enthusiastic, muscle-bound cousin arrived, booming, confident, impossible to ignore. Vivian's smile froze as she realized this was no fairy tale. The evening's entertainment had just taken a sharp and very loud turn for the absurd. Before Vivian could even formulate a suitably cutting response, her date decided to escalate the situation from merely loud to utterly mortifying.
"Watch this,"
he commanded, a glint of pure, unadulterated showmanship in his eyes. Without another word, he dropped to the floor. In the middle of the elegant, candlelit dining area, surrounded by priceless art and the city's upper crust, the man began cranking out push-ups. Each one was accompanied by a little grunt of effort, a sound that sliced through the soft jazz music like a chainsaw. The immaculate floor of Elaine's gallery was suddenly a makeshift gym mat. The reaction from the surrounding guests was a symphony of shock. There were audible gasps. Champagne flutes paused halfway to lips. A few people giggled, unsure if this was some bizarre piece of performance art they were supposed to appreciate. Most, however, just stared in stunned silence, their expressions a perfect blend of disbelief and disapproval. This was a flagrant breach of every unspoken rule of high society decorum. One did not simply perform calisthenics at a black-tie gala. It was an act of social terrorism, and Vivian was trapped at ground zero, the unwilling accomplice to his crime against etiquette.
"Get up this instant!"
She whisper-shouted, her voice a strangled hiss of pure panic. She leaned over him, trying to use her body to shield the grotesque spectacle from the rest of the room, an impossible task.
"This is an art show, not America's Got Abs."
Her brilliant cutting wit, usually her greatest weapon, was now just a desperate plea for normalcy. She was the queen of drama, but this was a kind of chaos she could not control, and certainly did not want. From their vantage point, Elaine and David watched the disaster reach its peak. Elaine covered her mouth to stifle a laugh, her shoulders shaking with amusement and sympathy for her friend. She knew Vivian would be telling this story for years to come, but in the present moment, she was living a personal hell. David, however, was less sympathetic and more purely entertained. He let out an unabashed grin. The sheer audacity of the man was something to behold. It was like watching a nature documentary where a wild animal had inexplicably wandered into a dollhouse. The scene was so perfectly, beautifully awful. Elaine turned to David, her eyes sparkling with laughter. She gestured with her chin toward the push-up debacle. Vivian always finds the unique ones, she said, amused. Vivian's dating life was a parade of oddballs and eccentrics.
If by unique you mean unbearable.
He was propelled by unstoppable self-confidence, immune to social cues. Sometimes the most unique thing you can be is utterly and unbearably simple. Vivian had reached her limit. With a determined grip, she dragged her date toward the exit, ignoring his confusion and the untouched entrees. Her retreat was clumsy but necessary, a whirlwind of sequins and muttered curses. The gallery's tension faded, replaced by laughter and jazz, as Vivian's escape became the night's main event. In the aftermath of Vivian's chaotic departure, Elaine and David were left in a bubble of shared amusement. The lingering tension from the encounter with Richard had completely dissolved, washed away by the ridiculous tidal wave of Vivian's date. Laughter is a powerful bond, and in that moment, they were more connected than ever. They watched the gallery doors swing shut behind Vivian, and both let out a simultaneous sigh of relief and laughter. The crisis had been averted, and the story was already legendary.
I'm going to have to send her a very expensive bottle of champagne tomorrow.
Better make it 2 bottles. One for the humiliation, and one for the sheer physical effort of dragging him out of here.
Their banter was easy and natural, the kind that exists between people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. The absurdity of what they had just witnessed served as a necessary release valve for the evening's simmering pressures. It reminded them that even in a world of high art, old flames, and unspoken anxieties, life could still be profoundly, wonderfully silly. It was a moment of pure, uncomplicated fun. This shared laughter served a crucial narrative purpose. It reset the emotional tone, providing a high point of lightness and connection right before the story was about to take a dramatic downturn. It established the strength and warmth of Elaine and David's bond, making the conflict to come all the more impactful. By showing them at their most relaxed and happy, the script was setting the audience up for a greater sense of loss when that happiness is shattered. The comic relief wasn't just filler. It was a strategic move, deepening the emotional stakes for the main characters. For a few precious minutes, everything was perfect. The gallery was beautiful, the music was soft, and the company was good. The ghosts of the past had been laughed away, and the future seemed bright and full of promise. They stood together, not as a hostess and her guest, or as 2 people with a complicated history, but simply as 2 people enjoying a moment of connection. It was the calm before the storm, a final deep breath before the plunge. The laughter faded into soft smiles as they looked at each other, unaware that their fragile peace was about to be irrevocably broken. Amid the swirling gala, Elaine and David found a rare, peaceful moment together. She led him down a quiet, art-lined corridor, away from the crowd. David loosened his tie, finally able to breathe. But then, his phone buzzed. He stepped away to answer, his voice turning serious. "David, Paris is perfect for the book. 1 year. Don't blow this for a fling." Elaine froze, the word fling echoing, hope turning to ice. The word fling echoed in the silent hallway, lodging itself deep in Elaine's heart. In an instant, trust shattered. David's secret conversation, the dismissive word, felt like a profound betrayal. But as the shock faded, anger and resolve took its place. She was not a fling. She would not crumble. With grace, Elaine walked away, stronger than before. As David ended his call, unease crept in. The silence in the hallway was heavy. His smile faded when he saw Elaine, her eyes dark, her face a mask of pain. Panic seized him. This was the conversation he dreaded.
Elaine, no, it's not like that.
He saw the wall go up in her eyes. "Don't," she said, her voice sharp as glass. Paris, once a promise, now felt like the end. My expression hardened, the shimmering hurt in my eyes turning into a firm, resolute sadness. "I wouldn't give you, David, the comfort of an explanation. I wouldn't engage in a debate where you could try to smooth over the truth with your charming words and heartfelt apologies. I've been down that road before, and I know exactly where it leads, to more heartache, to me waiting by the phone while you chase your next horizon. The power dynamic has shifted, just like that. I'm no longer the hopeful woman basking in your attention. I'm the queen in my own castle, and you, well, you've revealed yourself to be a temporary guest. I can't lose you twice, David. That's the core of my fear, the heart of the old wound. It's not just about you leaving, it's about the devastation it caused the first time, and this deep, primal need I have to protect myself from ever feeling that way again. I'm laying my vulnerability bare, but not as a plea. This is my explanation for the boundary I'm about to draw. I'm choosing to save myself, even if it means losing you. I take a small, deliberate step back, putting space between us that matches the emotional distance that's just opened up. I won't stand in the way of your freedom. The word freedom is intentional, a reminder of why you left before. I want you to know that I understand your nature, your need to be untethered. It's my way of saying, I know exactly who you are, and I won't lose myself again. With that, I reclaim my power completely. This isn't about you or your choices anymore. It's about me. It's a declaration of self-worth, a promise I'm making to myself. The first time you left, a part of me was lost in the wreckage. This time, I won't allow it. I'm drawing a line not just for you, but for my own survival. My well-being is non-negotiable. And if your presence threatens that, then there's really no choice to be made. I will always choose myself. Without waiting for another word, I turn. My movements are fluid and graceful, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside. I don't run, I just walk away, head held high. It's the most elegant, heartbreaking retreat you've ever witnessed. Even in pain, I don't relinquish my poise. The chandeliers catch a single unshed tear. It's a tear for you, for us, but it's a tear I won't let the world see.
I stand frozen in the quiet hallway, your words echoing. I'm left in the wake of your quiet strength, surrounded by the life you've built without me. The party goes on, but my world just stopped. Your retreat made one thing clear. I might not get to have either, the book or you. I remain frozen in the hallway long after Elaine has disappeared. The silence she left behind is louder than the distant party music. I replay the scene, her pained expression, my clumsy words. My secrecy confirmed her deepest fears. I know now, the connection I feel with Elaine is real, but my actions told a different story. The irony is crushing. I fumbled the most important story of my life.
The quiet alcove was broken by the soft rustle of sequins. Vivian, usually vibrant, was gentle as she sat beside David. Her own heartbreak made her an expert in silent comfort. She offered no advice, just presence.
Elaine has a fortress around her heart, David. You know that. Tonight you marched an army in with cannons.
He hadn't just made a mistake. He'd proven Elaine's defenses necessary.
It wasn't like that. The Paris offer, it's a big deal. I was trying to figure it all out before I told her. I didn't want to scare her off.
David ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of pure frustration. Vivian's words hit home because they were true. He had been the one who taught Elaine to be cautious, and now he was paying the price for that lesson. He knew how weak it sounded. He had been so afraid of her reaction that he had caused the very outcome he feared, a classic, tragic case of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Let me give you some advice that I never follow myself. Men think in logistics. Women think in feelings. You were busy drawing a map, and all she saw was you packing a bag.
It was a simple, brutal summary of the night's events. He had been focused on the what and the how, while completely neglecting the emotional impact, the us. He had treated a matter of the heart like a business proposal, and she had rightfully rejected his terms. A new feeling began to stir beneath the guilt and regret determination. He looked up from his drink, his gaze meeting Vivian's. The despair in his eyes was slowly being replaced by a flicker of fire. He had been a fool. He had been clumsy, but he was not a coward. He had lost Elaine once because he was too young and too scared to fight for what he wanted. He would not make that mistake again. The thought of a life without her, a future filled with professional success but personal emptiness, was suddenly unbearable. The view from a Parisian apartment would be bleak if she wasn't there to share it.
What are you going to do about it?
It was the question that mattered, the one that would define him. Was he the man who ran or the man who stayed?
I'm gonna fight for her. This time, I don't plan on losing Elaine.
The decision was made. The battle was just beginning.
Good, because she's worth fighting for. But it won't be easy. That drawbridge is up, the moat is filled with crocodiles.
The view was magnificent, a tapestry of light and shadow. Elaine stood alone, poised, her back to the party. Surrounded by beauty, she looked utterly alone. She is a portrait of graceful suffering, her strength and fragility on full display. The love story is not over, it has just become infinitely more complicated. The final act leaves the audience in exquisite tension, a cliffhanger of heart and hope. Elaine's retreat and David's vow mark a powerful pause, not an ending. She stands alone, framed by the city she's conquered, yet achingly isolated. David watches, his despair turning to resolve. They're at a crossroads. Her caution meets his determination. The pain of the cliffhanger is real, but anticipation for what's next is even greater. As the credits roll, the stage is set for the next phase of the characters' journeys. The conclusion is a narrative launching pad, establishing paths of growth and conflict. Elaine's journey is about redefining strength and trust. David's path is one of active pursuit and redemption. Vivian, poised for a new beginning, provides comic relief. The story leaves us on the edge of tomorrow, filled with promise and potential. The curtain has fallen, but the anticipation for its rise is palpable.